Well, good morning. What are we? Friday. Sorry.
Yes.
A little struggling. It's 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. now on my end. So you guys are very lucky. It's 8 o'clock on yours. But I am super, super, super excited to introduce you to our producers club this week, Miss Jane Castillo. And Jane's been with us now for you
For
joined.
years.
Yeah, you joined just a little right after I did in our
Hmm.
office, and I can tell you guys, I remember the first time I met Jane. She was super, super quiet, sort of,
Still am.
and she was so sweet. I mean, she wanted to learn everything from the get go. She asked all the questions, and I remember there are times because we had the same coach.
Mm, yeah.
And yeah, and she was like, "Oh, I have this question and I have that question," and she was always kind of reserved on, not wanting to, I guess, bug others. But I mean, let's kind of segue into that. Like, how did you feel once you realized like it's okay to ask the questions, right? Like, it's okay to, to use your resources.
What it's like, well, I come from an educational background, so I was a teacher for most of my career.
Mhm.
So when you come from education, you're accustomed to having the answers yourself because you've invested a great amount of time in building a foundation of knowledge. And so to, switch careers and not have that to fall back on, it was a little uncomfortable. But, as they say, your business grows to the extent that you do. So for me, it was very important for me to invest in a foundation of knowledge. And so I did take a lot of classes in the beginning. And then once I felt a little more comfortable and what I was learning and what I already knew, then I would turn to people to fill in the gaps of like, okay, now how do I do this? But coming from more of like I've done my work and getting that prior knowledge in. So now I just need, the practical of like, okay, how do I do this? And
Right.
so that was a major confidence builder within myself.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, no, and I agree with you. Right. I mean, when we're talking to our clients, when we're putting ourselves out there, if we don't have that confidence, they're going to be like, why would I use you and not someone else? So I love that. So you did state it that you came from an educational background. How did you go from being in education to real estate? How did that transition even transpire?
It's kind of interesting when I reflect on that and you realize that there are people in your life that influence you that you don't necessarily realize are influencing you at the time. It's almost, I feel like the universe has plant seeds in your path that grow that you may not be paying attention to as you go down life's path. And I mean, as you travel life's path. And what I realized is that early on, my dad had begun investing in real estate. And when I reflect back, I realized my first investment in real estate was when I was 19, right? Like
Wow.
before the internet, I found a way to invest on my own. Like what, 19-year-olds don't necessarily really do that. So it's always been like my secret little investment that I kept to myself. Like I really didn't even share that with friends. I just
Wow.
invested secretly throughout, whenever I had, a bit of money that I could. It's the type of thing that I did. And I got to the point where in my educational career and teaching, for the school district, then I started investing more. And I realized that there was a certain I guess alignment that I had more with real estate as time went on because there's a certain level of alignment that I reached with certain things. There are times when you outgrow things in your life, and coming to that point where you realize that and acknowledge the reality of it, then you need to shift.
Right.
And it's that shift that makes us uncomfortable of like, okay, I've practiced in this career. I've enjoyed this career, but I no longer see it serving me and my life's purpose anymore in this way. And so at that time, I had started remodeling homes and pouring my heart into remodeling them as projects, because I also am an artist. So I'm an installation artist as well. So my approach to art was always about transforming spaces and using the space as my canvas rather than an actual two-dimensional canvas. So I was always practicing in 3 dimensions. So remodeling became very natural to me as a process in visioning and placing things where they are attractive to be placed. So that became more fun.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And more lucrative too. And it just came to a point where even my husband recognized me, said, it's time that you get your license. And I thought, yeah, you're right. And then it wasn't until about a year after that I realized I had a session with a numerologist, probably like 16 years ago or so. And all I remember from that is he kept saying, real estate, real estate, real estate. And I thought, okay, well, yeah, I like real estate, but what does that mean? Does that mean get my license? Does that mean focus on commercial? Does that mean like focus on apartments? Or like, what does that mean? There's like so many things it could mean. And he just said, all I can tell you is real estate, real estate, real estate. And I thought, that's just too big. And I was like, okay, whatever. And here I am today. And I think about that all the time. Like, that is so funny that literally, I mean, that was like the last time I ever got a session with a numerologist. And I realized, yeah, he was right. That's pretty much my life now. Real estate, real estate, real estate.
Yes. And you know what? And you definitely, I mean, a lot of our sister offices is on this call. If you're not following Jane on social media, I would highly recommend it. And the reason being is because she eats, live, and breathe real estate. And I noticed the other day too, you're very active in our community. If you don't mind me sharing, Jane actually sets up a booth every Friday at our locals farmers market, and she gets to know everyone. It doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter who you are, she talks to everyone, right? And talking about like the agent that you kind of want to put yourself out there. In addition to that, I also kind of wanted to touch base a little bit. So you got invited to join our Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment division.
Yes.
How did that go about? I mean, I know you and I had talked about it, but not everybody know yet, I guess is the right word to say. We haven't really launched you forward on that particular segment. Can you share with us a little bit? How did you get picked? What did you have to do? What did the process look like from A to Z?
That's a good question, because I was thinking about that. And I feel like sometimes, when you're seeking to like go on your path, like I said, sometimes things just come into your path that you didn't even recognize. And so I have an insatiable desire to learn. I love learning. And so I get on the internet and I read. I've always loved to read. And I must have been on the Keller Williams website, looking at the different courses that they offer and the different blogs that they've posted, and somewhere on there I must have seen something about sports and entertainment. And so I clicked on it, I read through the whole thing. You have to apply. And I said, oh, I'm going to apply. And I got chosen. And so now there's 1,100 of us in this division, and it's growing. And so what they do is they vet you for your background and your sales history as well. They want to make sure that you have familiarity with either sports or entertainment or both. And in this particular case, I do have familiarity with the entertainment industry. I have dabbled in acting. I just did a bit part in an independent film a few months ago. I have I published a book
Yeah.
last year. I'm an artist, so I do have kind of like that side of things. And I realized too that in real estate, I do have clients that are VIPs. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I kind of am naturally part of like this kind of a
You're already doing it.
I'm already doing it. And yeah, so it seemed to be very much a natural fit.
Okay.
And so when I got accepted, I realized, well, I am already doing it, because I realized I am handling VIPs that are my tenants. So it's interesting to explore this and expand this, and meeting fellow agents in the division. It's been amazing because they all have their own backgrounds too. Like some are professional athletes that are retired already. There's someone that was on the Dallas Cowboys that was a Super Bowl champion. He's on. Somebody from the Seattle Seahawks has joined. There's like all these backgrounds as artists and entertainers and producers, and so everybody has varied backgrounds. And in talking to people within the division, it's amazing, because when we put our heads together, like even me, like I was sharing with one of my fellow agents that I met, or we all met in Nashville for like a big event for the division, and sharing with her about some an experience that I had had with my grandmother and whatnot. And somebody had suggested to me that I do a documentary, and I've never done a documentary before. And I said, I'd love to do a documentary, but I don't know how to do it. I haven't embarked on anything like this. Where's my film crew? And it's about like retracing my grandmother's steps in Colombia, or in the country that my family originates from. And she said, you know what? It's the story is there's a lot of layers to the story, so I'll keep it short because I know we don't have very much time on this. But she said, I have access to a film crew. Let's do your story. And I was like, wait, what? So it was just amazing that I realized, of course, like some of us have that entertainment background.
Right.
And for her, like she has a film crew at her disposal she works with regularly. I thought, wow, this is amazing. So I feel like it kind of like found my tribe within real estate, and it's opening up a lot of opportunities that are in the pipeline for the division as a whole, not just serving clientele that needs more discretion
Right.
with privacy and the type of service that is expected. And so anyway, I was just thinking about all of it and going, wow, this is really amazing, because we're not only looking to relocate them or find housing for like short-term rentals, we're looking for, permanent housing as well as investments for them.
Right.
So it's not just like, oh, let me find their spring training home. It's like,
Right.
well, you need to invest too. Okay, we got you covered there. And the beauty of it is that we're nationwide, and we have some representation in Canada as well. And they're looking to go even more international than that, so that we become the premier realtors for people in the entertainment industry as well as sports.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Wow, what an amazing story. So you're telling us that we need to stay tuned on a documentary that's coming soon, right?
Yeah, it's probably a couple of years in the making, but it's pretty exciting.
Good. Well, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. Well, I mean, I'm always super excited to see you grow, and we're so grateful to be in business with you as well. We're like I always say, like we're a very unique organization as a whole. And then when we break it down to these divisions, I mean, especially all of us that's on here, just know that everything is possible, right? It's just a little bit of the front end legwork, and I've seen it firsthand. I've seen Jane did it. I mean, we have a lot of heavy hitters in our office as well that I've seen has already walked the path. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just got to follow what others has done before us, just like yourself. And we're very grateful for that. So last year you had a pretty strong year
Mhm.
in regards to your sales and your transactions. How's it looking this year? Are you already on track? I know we're only a few days away from closing out May and rolling into June. How's your business, your transaction, your sales volume coming along as we're
Well,
rolling into the summer?
right now I've kind of slowed myself down intentionally. I know it may not be impressive, but we all have our own road to travel. And with me, I just feel like on a personal level, I am preparing for the Keller Williams sports and entertainment. So I am revisiting my marketing assets and my approach. So
Mhm.
in order to have time to really focus on that, I have, I've slowed down a bit. So, I am revisiting my listing presentation and ramping that up and beefing that up so that when I am dealing with a high level clientele, I already have my deck, I already have the presentations, I have, everything that I need so that I can come from a place of confidence. And when I am confident, I can come from contribution that much stronger, because I know my material, I have my material, I have my branding in place. So I'm doing all of that and getting all of that situated. So I'm spending time on that. And then but I'm still active and going to the farmers market and getting leads like that. It really does connect me with my community. So I do have a lot in the pipeline, but right now I have just kind of like paused a little.
No, I love that. And I know I promised you that I'm going to start joining you on some of your farmers market events. So just to be
I'm
your
ex- I'm expanding to others too. So I mean, it's really interesting because in my particular booth, I have a sign for people to ask me real estate questions,
right.
and it's just fun to watch the body language. And some people will see that and they'll just pause and they'll just stand there kind of frozen. Uh, and then I know what they're thinking. Like you can watch like the gears in their head just kind of like they want to say something, but they're kind of scared. Like,
Scared.
and I'm thinking, what is the fear? Do they think like they're gonna come up to my booth and walk away having signed their life away to buy a house? I mean, like what I don't know what the fear is. And so anyway, they come up eventually. I'll just say, hey, do you have a question? And they come up and then they'll ask me, they'll have some kind of question like, you know what, I inherited this house and, I was thinking this, that, or the other. So they'll ask me a question. And I realized that, a lot of us have these questions, but
Absolutely.
that we're afraid to ask. And so being there, I'm out there like, where they are. And so they'll come and say, well, why are you here? And I said, well, I knew that you weren't going to come to the office to ask your question. So I came to you and they're like, oh, like that's pretty cool. And then, I have swag and, some candy and stuff on my table. So everybody walks away with something. And I have a spinner and they can spin to win either a Starbucks gift card or something. And I said, like everybody walks away a winner from my booth. So it's totally fine. And then they walk away. I hope with a different impression that we're not used car salesmen, like
Right.
trying to be sleazy or anything. And so they walk away like, look, I didn't ask you for anything. I gave you something, and I helped you with the question that you've probably had in your head for months, right?
Right.
And they
But
didn't
too
have an
afraid.
answer to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they walk away. And I was like, oh, okay, that was cool. And then, they call me later, like, I need to list my house. Really? That's nice. They're like, you were so nice to me at the farmer's market. I was like, oh, cool. I'm a nice person. So it's been really, really wonderful. I've like found my tenants that way. I, got listings that way, got buyers that way. It's been fun
It's,
too.
so it's a pretty good, I guess, another layer of lead generation for you. It sounds like not only just your SOI and your past clients and referrals, I'm assuming, but now you found another, I guess, another lane to you know to push through all your lead gen, I guess, and your clients.
Yeah, I mean it's another way of building community because the market is a community.
It is.
So you form alliances with the vendors as well. It's not just the people that are attending, it's the vendors as well that you form these alliances with, and they reciprocate too. They become a source of referrals as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, and I was going to ask you, how do you lead generate, right? I mean, so it sounds like the farmers market is one tactics. What about, I mean, there are, say some of us are new on this call as an agent. We're either, a day in or 5 years in, but a lot of us had kind of gone ups and downs, right, with the market. And some of us are kickstarting our businesses. What would you tell us to do in regards to lead generation? I mean, are we still, the door knocking, the cold calling? Are you doing any of those? The back to basics, right? On what we've kind of learned and been taught in real estate?
For me, being an artist, I always blaze my own trail. so, so I apply the basics when it's appropriate, for me.
Right.
And like when it, obviously just listed, just sold, then you do the door knocking, that's very natural thing. And for me, what helped me when I first started, the idea of door knocking and cold calling just wasn't something that I looked forward to, because I was that person that had that sign on my front door that says, if you're not coming here with wine and cheese, just please don't knock on my
If you don't have Girl Scout cookies, don't knock on your door.
I was that person, and I thought, oh my gosh, here I am, that person, and I'm gonna go knock on someone's door like that. So anyway, I took down that sign because I realized, okay, I can't put that out there anymore. But what I did do is I started interviewing people because I was new to the area. And I newly had my license. I didn't know anybody. And so what I did is I started interviewing people in the community and introducing myself that way, and putting these interviews on my website. And actually it was my second or third interview that I did that was my first client.
Wow.
And that's part of the things that I'm revamping right now. Is now I'm starting this interviewing process. So I'm going to have a series of interviews that are about like 10 minutes of, with a home inspector, with a solar guy, and just about 10 minutes about their business. And then I'm going to have what is called like 3 things with Jane. And so they're going to say like the top 3 things of a home inspection that you should know about. So in fact, I'm doing one tonight. And the home inspector, he knows, and he goes, I know my first thing is going to be. And I said, what is the first thing? And so from a home inspector, the first thing he's going to say, don't freak out.
Exactly.
With your home inspection. I started laughing. So yeah, so he's my first one. And so I'm going to put those on YouTube, as well as, social media, as well as my website. So I want to get that going and make my interviews shorter, because what I did originally was my interviews are very long. And so I realized they're very time consuming for me to put time into and posting them. So I that's why I'm saying I shifted into like making these a little more fun and a little faster to produce and post. So just getting all those marketing assets in place is what I'm excited about. So I'm looking forward to that. So what I started doing in the beginning was the interviews, and then I plugged myself into the community that way. And now I'm on the board of our local Harbor Health Center that has like 4 different venues, 3 that are in place right now, and the 4th one coming along. So I serve on the board there. I was on the neighborhood council, and and then I volunteer in the neighborhood as well. I volunteer with local bunny rescues and fostering and rescuing them. So I just plug myself into the community in that way. But my thing is to build your referral source while you're having fun.
Right.
And even in school, I was always involved in student government. So being involved was like part of my DNA now. So yeah, so for me, I feel like if I can serve my community, be involved, and naturally get my referrals that way, and to build more business, interview people, because I enjoy doing that anyway.
Right.
Then yeah, I
No,
just
I love
need to
that.
have fun. You need to
Exactly.
make every day more wonderful than the next in some way, whether
Yep.
it's interviewing someone, because every time I find that I do, I'm better for it in some way. I've gained some bit of knowledge, whether it's one nugget or one pearl that I can add to the necklace.
Yeah.
It just, that energy feeds me and my energy, and in turn becomes something that becomes contagious. Like in our office, what I love about our office is everybody's positive and supportive. And and so if your vibration is kind of low and somebody else is kind of high in the office, and you kind of equal out when you're there, and you're like, I'm glad I came to the office.
Exactly.
So cool.
Exactly.
So it's in order to keep that operating in a higher vibration, it's very important to get out there and talk to people in a way that's meaningful and that feels good to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does mean stretching, and some doing the door knocking and something that scares you and stuff, but I do a mix, and
Good.
it would be appropriate for me to have a mix of things like that.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you. Well, one last question for you. And how did you transition from a structured 9 to 5 job that required you to have discipline and keep a schedule?
How did I do that? I feel like the universe pushes you in a direction sometimes that you don't expect. Like I didn't expect to get my license, even though I'd been in the back of my head for a long time. Even though I had had a session with the neurologist that said real estate. And at the time, it didn't make sense to me because I wasn't there yet.
Mhm.
But at the point to where I decided to do it, and like I said, my husband saying, okay, it's time for you to do that, I realized, wait a minute, this had been a thought in my head. I had that session, and now he's saying it's time. I thought, okay, it's time. It is time to make that shift. And it did get to be something that you have to get used to. You have to establish a routine for yourself. I always begin my day with a meditation. I always set an intention for the day, and I meditate upon that intention. What is my intention for the day that I am going to focus on? And I feel like sometimes where I get distracted and suddenly get up in the morning and forget to meditate or set that intention, I'm just discombobulated and like all over the place. And then by the end of the day, I feel like, okay, what did I do? What did I accomplish today? I'm not sure. So for me, I feel like the transition really involved focusing on that morning. The first thing I do in the morning is I recall my dreams, what happened in my dream, because I know in my dreams I see symbols of things that I know are going to happen in that day. So I recall them, and when I remember the symbols, I write them down. And right after that, I go into my meditation, set my intention, and then go check my schedule of what I planned, and then just do that. And I find when I do that, everything is going to be all right. But when I'm off and I have to like suddenly just get up and just miss all that, it does throw me off. So for me, it was the structure of starting every morning in that way.
I love that. I love that. No, thank you. Wow. Well, last word from you to all of us. What would be the one advice you can give us for, just in our business, in our real estate world, but also in our personal life? Because it sounds like you've now kind of managed a good work-life balance. What would be your advice to all of us?
Ooh. To be honest with yourself
Mhm.
of what makes you happy.
I love
So
that.
that's something that sometimes we don't want to admit because we might feel like it's not okay.
Yeah.
Because if I have to sacrifice some of my happiness to get what I want, but then you're not happy, you know.
Yeah.
So how to incorporate that? You have to be honest with yourself. What makes you happy? What makes you happy? Do more of it,
Yeah.
because that affects your health.
Yes.
That affects everything. Because like if mama's not happy, no one's happy. Like if a baby's
Exactly.
not happy, no one's gonna be happy. That is so important. And as I've been on this planet, longer and longer, I realized the importance of that. There was a time where when I was teaching, when I had first started teaching, that I really was burning the candle at both ends. And I saw myself, my ID, I had aged. I felt like, to me, it looked like I had aged 10 years. And then I had taken a sabbatical to focus on getting my master's degree. And then in that college ID, I looked like I had reversed 10 years. So
Years.
now I looked younger. And I thought, what was the difference? I was happy.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That is amazing. Well,
So,
thank
yeah.
you. I really appreciate it. We appreciate you being here with us today as well. And everyone that's on this call, thank you for joining us this morning. Your story is just phenomenal, and we thank you for that. Have a great Friday, and make it count. And you have farmers market today as well.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, you guys. Really appreciate it. As always, we're very, very grateful to be in business with each and every one of you. And like Jane said, go out there, do what you love, and everything else will fall straight into place.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Bye. Have a good day. All right.